Oh, welcome back, everybody. I am pleased to introduce Doug Wead and Craig Shirley, two of our favorite presidential historians. Welcome back to the show, gentlemen. How are you?
Good, Greg. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. Craig, first to you, and I want to show you this Michigan lawmaker came to Washington, D.C. He's going to be one of the electors in the Electoral College, meeting with the president. This is what went down at the airport. A big mob of reporters, and let's turn the volume up for a moment.
Will you honor the will of the Michigan voter? Will you honor the will of the Michigan voter? Sir, are you committed to upholding the results of a free and fair election?
All right. General mayhem, some name calling, some reporters asking questions. Craig, my question to you, how unusual would it be for an elector from a state to visit the president at this time under these circumstances?
It would be unusual in the last 230 years. That wouldn't rule it out. But electors generally met at their state capitol in a meeting organized by the Secretary of State in December after the election was concluded of the popular vote, to then organize the election of the Electoral College. It would then report the results to Washington of the electors of each of the individual states. So it is kind of unusual for an elector to come to Washington. There's nothing illegal about it. The electors can do pretty much whatever they can do. We've actually had, out of the 25,000 electoral votes cast over the last 30 years, there's been about 150 faithless electors. Two-thirds of the states now have laws on the books against faithless electors, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's a media scrum, but there's nothing illegal about it.
Of course, of course. Doug, let's see here. The Electoral College will convene. You heard Professor Dershowitz say earlier, this is not about getting Donald Trump to 270 electoral votes. This is about taking Joe Biden below 270 electoral votes. What do you think of that strategy, and how could it play out in the Electoral College next month?
Well, the rules for the Electoral College are decided by each state, and they're unanimous in all of the states except for Maine and Nebraska, and they are a slight variation. But it's basically whoever is certified to have won the popular vote in that state. By law, those electors must vote that way and are committed that way. But they are individuals. They're human beings, so they can break the law. That's why there's always pressure every time in an election like this. And there are always people who are saying, come on, get that Electoral College to vote our way. But it's not likely to happen.
So go ahead, Professor.
Craig, I just want to say, as 10 did in the election of 2016, 10 electors did not choose to vote for either Hillary, to which they were pledged, or Donald Trump, for whom they were pledged.
Why? Why not? Did they say why?
For whatever reason, they chose other candidates. Some people didn't speak out. I remember there was a faithless elector in 1976, a guy named Mike Padden from Washington State. Washington State went for Gerald Ford in 1976, but he was a diehard Reagan fan, so he chose to be a faithless elector and cast one electoral vote for then Governor Reagan.
Wow. You know what I don't like about what's happening right now? The mainstream media is really pushing. They're trying to say, President-elect Biden, President-elect Biden. They say that enough, they think it's going to seep into everybody's consciousness. And if they say, no evidence of voter fraud, they just keep repeating these mantras. And I think half the country really wants to accept that. Doug, I think that's their strategy. And I heard someone say that their real target audience, the judges, to make the judges really resistant to the idea of somehow reversing some of these contests.
Yeah, there's Joseph Goebbels who popularized the idea, if you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it. So, but right now, the threats you talked about earlier in your show to some of these lawyers who are even representing Trump, these are the big bullies. And ironically, they're big corporations who benefit from regulation. You notice the COVID shutdown, Kmart, Target was still operating, Costco was operating, Walmart was operating. Walmart used to be a Republican company. All of them now are Democrat. You can still go on Google. Your viewers could go on right now and look at the top 100 corporations in this country. They're all monopolies. They benefit from regulations that keep their competitors out. And that's the key. That's why the media is so angry and upset. They're owned and sponsored by these big corporations who depend on their monopoly to make money, and they own all of the all of those lobbyists in Washington who run the city, and that's where we're headed back into. If Biden wins, we're going right back into the arms of those corporations.
Hey, can I ask you real quick about Barack Obama? And we have this picture of him on the cover of InStyle magazine as he's promoting the book that is now sold already 1 million copies, I think. It's the 5th book about himself, which is pretty obnoxious when you think about it. And he's just cashing in big time, and he's famous, and he's powerful, and he's so smug. Has any ex-president profited like this one, Craig?
No ex-president. Many ex-presidents have penned their memoirs. Harry Truman penned a 2-volume memoir. Johnson never did. Nixon finally did after some years. Reagan penned a one book memoir. But all of them, none of them have profited to this extent. And I might say none of them have been in love with the first person pronoun as much as Barack Obama is.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, by the way, a lot of those presidents would have liked to have made more money. I happen to know that.
Sure.
They would have liked, right? And hey, but this kind of earnings, he's on track to be a billionaire. And I don't think he's giving back to the community that sent him to the State House and sent him to Washington first as a senator. I think he's just kind of blowing them off. And anyway, gentlemen, appreciate it so much. Doug Wead, Craig Shirley, to be continued, okay?
Thank you. Thanks,
Have a good
Craig.
weekend.
You're the best. You're the best. All right, we're coming back with some highlights and lowlights from the.
My friends are calling me all the time and writing me and saying, "You've disappeared from television. We can't find you. We don't see you anymore." This is the only way we've figured out how to beat the censors. If you subscribe to this channel, hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell, you'll get notification when I'm on TV. Otherwise, you won't get my Instagrams, my messages on Facebook. It's censorship. So I want to hear from you. I want you to be able to hear from me.